Everybody's always happy to hear something good about themselves.
Everybody?
Okay. Here we go. Tanya, 101. Good morning. Today is the 6th day of Parshas Noach. You know, there was only one window in the ark. Noach was in the ark. It had a skylight at the top, and there was a window on the side. And the day and night were suspended. Sometimes it was day, there was light, sometimes there wasn't light. There's a certain scientist, a Jewish scientist, who he theorized that there were drastic climate changes taking place the whole time of the flood. And he postulates that during the times of darkness, there were tidal waves and the heat of the sun was not available. Clouds, there was volcanic eruptions, which covered the light of the sun and made it extremely cold on earth, and the waters froze. And he says that's why we find huge African animals frozen in ice in Siberia. How'd they get there? And he says they were washed there by tidal waves, and then the sun's light was put out and they were frozen in ice, all very rapidly and suddenly. Cataclysmic changes were taking place in the world. Excuse me. And he amassed a great deal of evidence to prove his points. All this evidence was collected before him. He had a scientific theory he was trying to prove. That there was a meteor or a comet that came dangerously close to the earth, almost collided. And this caused all these cataclysmic changes, reactions. However, he drew on evidence that had been collected by scientists over hundreds of years before him. They were not interested in meteors or comets. They were just trying to verify the stories of the Bible. And they provide him with a lot of evidence. The Rebbe argues that because of the flood, carbon dating is inaccurate, because any kind of extrapolation, that is to say, reasoning from a limited amount of evidence over an unlimited or exaggerated period of time that's out of the control of the experiment is inaccurate. And since there were these vast changes, climatic changes taking place in the world, we can't rely on carbon dating to verify the age of the world or the age of anything. Only for the last 4,000 years, that's when the flood took place, like 4,100 years ago. It was the time of the flood. So during these periods of darkness, how did they have light in this huge, the ark was like a tanker, an oil tanker. You ever seen a picture of an oil tanker? It's long like this. Well, that's how the flood was. The ark was. It was long. It was 300 amas long and only 50 amas wide. So it was 6 times as long as it was wide. How did they have light? With just this one window, a skylight at the top, And well, one measure says it wasn't the skylight. It was a stone that gave off light. Okay, that's good. The other version, of course, is just a joke. They had floodlights.
Floodlights?
Floodlights. You know what floodlights are? Electric lights. They cast a lot of lights. That's a joke.
Because of the flood?
Yes. When they had a kiddush, they had marble cake. That's also a joke. Okay, back to the text. Yes, we discussed yesterday that the animal soul, the vital soul in a person, is the source of his selfish, negative character traits. There are 4 elements that the Tanya lists here, 4 basic elements that comprise the substance of every physical thing. They are fire, that's warmth, water, air, and earth. And you have all these elements in you. Fire, where's the fire in you? You're 98 degrees hot, 98.6 degrees. That's your normal temperature, right? 98.6, that's hot. You feeling all right? Yeah, you feel warm. Air, person has to breathe, what, 12 times a minute? You breathe. Water, you're 75% like the earth. 75, 80% water. And earth, that's the basic, earth, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. Basic substance of what we are is earth. And these 4 elements are combined. Each one of them can be the root of a negative or a positive characteristic. So fire in the animal soul will express itself as, what did we say yesterday?
A fiery person.
Person who's fiery. Well, how's he going to behave? Angry. Don't mess with this guy or this lady. She has a short fuse. What happens if you have a short fuse, an electric outage in the house? You have sparks. Or this person is very what?
Arrogant.
Arrogant. What? Proud. Arrogant. Snobby. Water. The opposite of fire is water. You have a symphony here. Water, if you have a garden, you want to grow luscious, delicious fruits and vegetables in your garden, you must have
Water.
Water. No water, no delicious anything. Person wants to go on a vacation. Where are they going to go?
To the beach.
To a place where there's water. That's right. That's where the pleasure lies, because water is the source of all pleasure. What's a watermelon without water? And most of humanity lives near water. This is a fact. People who don't live near water are very rare. Nomads, people who live in the deserts, very few. Most societies are built up near waterways because we need water. Water is the source of all pleasure. Water in your animal soul is the source of your yearning for pleasure, your desire for pleasure. So that will express itself in many negative ways. Gluttony, people who overeat, drink too much, people who don't have any sense of social responsibility. They just want to eat, drink, and be merry. Hasidim are brought up, not to finish their plate. In most Jewish homes, mommy says, finish your plate. Think of the poor, starving, whoever it is. Poor, starving people in wherever it is. But Hasidim always tend to leave something over, because when you're in the middle of eating, it's hard to stop. So that's how they try and exercise a little self-control on the element of water in the animal soul. The element of water always wants more. Even when you've had enough, it still wants more. Because the pleasure. Okay, that's water. So water leads to an overindulgence in things that will cause you pleasure, and that will motivate you to drink too much, or motivates people to get into drugs or gambling. I've never had a temptation to gamble, never been interested in it. But I was surprised yesterday when I came home and there was this very fancy brochure inviting me to open an account for $20,000 in order to bet on baseball and football teams. Gambling. I wouldn't go near it. Gambling is an addiction, it addicts people just like drugs. And I know people who got addicted to it, unfortunately, and destroyed their life. A guy told me he had a big executive job on Wall Street, and the whole time he was looking at the clock, when could he take a break and go to the bookie and place a bet? All the money he made, he lost. His marriage was destroyed, just like drugs. And here they're sending mass mailing to the whole of our community. I guess they think that we get a big kick. We have so much money, we get a big kick of losing it. That's also motivated by the feeling of pleasure you get when you win a bet. You win a bet, you bet on something, you win once, twice, you want to do it again because of the pleasure that you feel when you win. When I was in school, there was a guy. I lived in a dormitory. I was the only Jewish guy in the dormitory, except for one friend who came from a small town. He got into betting, and he lost and lost. He won and won, and then he began to lose and lose and lose and lose. And he kept on betting in order to make up what he'd lost, to make it back. And the betting was controlled by the mafia, so it was highly dangerous what he was doing, because if you don't pay, they kill. And he was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I was frightened for him. And then finally he made a bet, and he was betting on anything. He was betting on things he didn't even know what they were. Didn't know who was playing. Just what's the odds? Okay, I'll bet on it. He felt there was a chance he might win, he would bet on it. And he would bet everything that he had lost. And finally, Baruch Hashem, he hit the right one, and he won back all the money he had lost, and then he swore off betting for the rest of his life. Never bet again. He became an outstanding criminal lawyer.
Wow.
He became the top criminal lawyer in the whole Canada.
Wow.
He passed away like 2 years ago.
Wow.
So that's the element of water. Water is the source of pleasure, that the animal soul loves pleasure. And this drives a person to do all kinds of things for the sake of pleasure. And then comes the earth. What does earth, how does that express itself in your animal soul? Well, let's say you know somebody, oh, that person, he's real heavy. What does that mean? What does that convey to you? What kind of person would that be? I don't mean overweight. I mean,
Strong-minded, like a really strong personality, strong-minded, and really like a happy person. No, it's like someone.
I'm not sure. It seems to me that when the element of earth in a person's character means he's very slow, sluggish, lazy, he's not excitable, he's not going to be fun, he's not going to like to dance or things like that, sing. And he's going to tend to be depressed and unhappy. That's the element of earth. From the excess in the medieval sciences, I remember learning this from an excess of black bile. The element of earth would cause an excess of black bile in the body, which cause a person to be very melancholy. So the word, that's a melancholer, is the root of the word. Okay, that's what he says here. Now let's take a look at it inside. Here we go, top of page 46. Fire is the root of anger and pride, which come from the element of fire. Just like fire rises up, so the person has a fiery temper. Ooh! He's very angry, rise up. Or he's very proud, very arrogant. And then we have water, which is the source of taivas hatainugim. Taiva is lust. The lust for pleasure, for pleasurable feelings. Miyasoid comes from the element of water, because water is the source of all pleasures, like we understand. Can't have a pleasure garden without water. Can't have a water park without water. All the fun. Can't go water skiing with no water. Or scuba diving, or any of the things that people like to do. What is Hailolais? Oh, we didn't really mention the element of air. The element of air, how does the element of air express itself in your personality?
Words.
What?
Words.
Words?
Yeah.
A person talks. Yada, 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 yada. Yada, 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 yada. Talk, 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 talk. Talking too much. Saying things that ought not to be said. Lashon hara. Making fun of things that are holy. Criticizing Torah scholars. Making fun of people who try to lead good lives. For profit. So excessive talk, negative talk, is from the element of air. So we say at the end of Shemona Esra, Hashem, we ask a special prayer, guard my lips. Help me not to say something negative, something that's not so good. Let me not say things that should not be said. Because once a thing is said, you can't take it back. It's on YouTube, and it's there forever. All your deeds written in a book. An ear that hears, and all your deeds written in a book. That's the element of air. We have to be very, very careful about what we say, not to hurt a person's feelings, not to make fun of somebody, not to make fun of something, but to praise the good quality in a person. My son told me he just started teaching in Lubavitch Yeshiva, and he happened to go, and he's a rookie, so he's just getting his ballots, he happened to go to the office and he saw there were two boys sitting in the office. They'd both been sent out of class. They were doing an assignment. They're both doing assignments. One was older, one was younger. The older one was a troubled boy from a broken home. And he was a bully. And he was picking on the younger boy and being miserable to him. And he turned to my son, who was the teacher, turned to my son, not his teacher, but the teacher. And he said, I don't know why I don't punch this guy in the nose. So when my son said, did you finish your assignment? He said, yes. So come back to class. As they walked to class, he said to him, I see you're being very good. You're holding yourself in. That you had this desire to punch him in the nose and you're holding yourself in. That's very good. He turned the situation around to give him a compliment. Though a boy probably never hears compliments. He probably gets beaten up and bullied around a lot. So he bullies other people in his home environment. He probably suffers a lot of abuse and then he takes that out on the others around him. So he turned it around and he turned it into a compliment. See, you're holding yourself in. That's very good. Excellent. It made the boy feel good. So this is the element of air. To say things that will make people feel good is positive aspect of the element of air. And the element of earth, we just said, causes a person to be, what does it say here? Sloth is the word. Sloth and melancholy. What is sloth? Sloth is sluggishness. There used to be a cartoon. When I was a kid, I watched a lot of cartoons. Popeye was a cartoon. Popeye. They became a restaurants chain called Popeye. So there's a character in the Popeye cartoon called Wimpy. Wimpy liked to eat burgers, but he never had any money. So he was always borrowing money and saying, well, I'll pay you on Tuesday. That was his. That's a sluggish person. Very slow to do things. Whereas Avram Avinu, the opposite, is a person who's quick to do things. When the chance arrives to do things, he springs like a wild animal, like a leopard or a tiger or a lion, quickly to catch a prey. Quickly, the great praise of Abraham was not that he was ready to sacrifice his son as an offering. It was that he was hasty in doing it. He was speedy in fulfilling the will of Hashem. Okay, so these are the four elements and negative elements in our character. Remember these, girls. Get a stapler, staple these four elements in your mind. You should always remember what they are, and then you'll understand how you're behaving, what's really taking place. So when you get all upset, all riled up about something, you have to stop and ask yourself, well, what I'm upset about, is it deserving that I should be upset? If I'm upset, if I get angry, that means I'm drawing on the element of fire in my animal soul. And that's becoming me. That's who I am now. I don't want to be a vassal, a slave, a servant of my animal soul. I'm going to better, quench this fire. How do you quench a fire? With water or with earth. You can pour earth or water on a fire to control it. So let's pause now. I'm going to teach you a new idea. Okay, again, when I was a kid growing up, we used to do this kind of things. We used to make things with our fingers and you had to guess what it was. Hana, you know what this is, so don't tell. What is this? What do you see here?
I like would need to imagine
Yeah, what does it suggest to you?
like a heart that beats.
A heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that could look like a heart that's beating regularly. Very
It's
good.
like, can I do like jellyfish?
A jellyfish?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know what jellyfish
it's like a
do.
jellyfish, no?
Like a, yeah.
Well, this is really a fundamental principle of the Torah. This is illustrating a fundamental principle of the Torah, which is that this and that are two opposites. Hashem has made them both. Everything in holiness has an equal and opposite effect in the realm of the unholy. And everything negative in life has an opposite effect in holiness, so that we can learn from everything in the world. Even from negative things, we can learn positive things. What is this really? When I was a kid, what did we say it was? We said it was a spider doing push-ups on a mirror. And the idea in Torah is zev li'uma zeh as Elokim. This opposite that Hashem has made. So all these negative things that we just spoke about in the animal soul have an opposite counterpart in the godly soul. So fire in the animal, let's take a look at them. Fire in the animal soul is what?
Anger, pride.
Anger and pride. And what is fire in the godly soul?
Maybe passion and like a desire to learn.
Okay, you're guessing. Good. But how about doing mitzvahs with love, with warmth, with excitement? That your life, you're excited, you're excited about being Jewish. You never met Charlie yet. He's still alive. He's in a rehab, I think. Charlie loved Shabbos. From Saturday night on, he would start singing, Shabbos is coming, Shabbos is coming. Rebbe liked him very much. Excitement, davening with feeling. Some people daven, they just say the words. It's cold. Death is cold. Life is warm. We have to learn Torah with warmth and excitement, knowing that it's connected to the essence of our life. When we do a mitzvah, we have to do it with a lot of feeling, with involvement. That's the element of fire in the godly soul. Souls on Fire, a book by
Let's see.
I think Elie Wiesel wrote a book called Souls on Fire about tzaddikim. Oh, so that's the element of fire in the service of God. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, all together. The element of water is the desire, the pleasure from physical things. Pleasure in the godly soul is the pleasure that we get from doing a mitzvah and from learning Torah. Why does a person do something? Because he wants to. Why does he want to? Can't ask a question. And what a person desires, you can't ask questions. It's too high. What you want is higher than higher than all your faculties is what you want. That's your driving force. Nothing can stand before the strong desire of a person to accomplish something. Why does a person have a strong desire? Hasidus explains, the reason you have strong desires, the reason you are all here is because you got turned on somewhere, sometime, by a shliach or shlucha, and made you feel such a sense of pleasure in Torah, is that I want more of that. That feeling of pleasure is what causes you to want something. Pleasure is the inner life, the inner soul of your desires. And that's the element of water in the godly soul, is the pleasure you derive from doing something good. And that has a Hebrew word. The Hebrew word for that is tanug. So taiva is desire. A Baal taiva is a person with a lot of desires, usually referring to a person who has physical desires. He indulges himself in drinking and eating, drinking wine, eating a lot of meat. That's taiva. And why does a person have taiva? It's because of the tainug, because he likes it. He likes it. A friend of mine was a bacher. He was a bacher. And Rabbi Pape proposed to him to meet a certain young lady. And he was a very Hasidic bacher. And he said to me, you know, last night the Rebbe verbringed, and I called up this girl, and I asked her if she listened to the verbringen, if she went to the verbringen. She said no. And I asked her if she listened to it on the radio, and she said no. I asked her if she was going to read about it. She said probably not. And I said to myself, well, I'm not going to say anything, but sounds like you're not going to really close with this girl and get married to her, because she's striking out on all the things that are important to you. And then he turned to me and asked, I didn't say a word. He said to me, he says, but Pape, he said to me, what am I going to do? I think I like her. I think I like her. So they got married, Baruch Hashem. That's the pleasure in holy things causes you to want to do things about it. So that's the element of water in the godly soul. Torah is compared to water. That's why learning Torah is one of the greatest pleasures that's available to mankind. It's just pizza doesn't compare. Not even falafel or sushi. The pleasure of understanding an idea is a very high pleasure on an intellectual level. Air, the element of air is saying words. In the animal soul, it's saying not good words, saying words that hurt. The story about the Chafetz Chaim, he was very big on this idea of not speaking negatively. And a person came to him and said, Rebbe, what should I do? I spoke negatively about somebody in public. I said things about them, they were true, but they weren't good things. He said, bring me a pillow. So, you know the story?
No.
He brought him a pillow. He says, okay, now take a knife and cut a hole in the pillow, slit open the pillow, and what happened? He says, the feathers blew all over the place. He said, well, when you pick up all those feathers, then you'll know that Hashem forgave you for what you said. Because when you say something negative about somebody, it's like the feathers, it just keeps going and going and going and going. And how do you correct it? Okay, so that's the element of speech in your godly soul, is to say words of Torah. Say a lot of words of Torah. We learned on the first page of Tanya, Rabbah didn't stop saying words of Torah the whole time. He was constantly saying words of Torah. Or davening out loud, not davening to yourself, saying the words, involving all the physical elements of your mouth and your speech and your breathing to praise Hashem, or using your good words to praise somebody else and encourage them. To say words of appreciation, words of gratitude. That's the element of air in your godly soul. Whereas a skeptical person, a critical person, always has something not nice to say, to scoff and make fun, denigrate, run things down, to deflate the significance of good things. That's in the animal soul. That's air, element of air in the animal soul. And the element of air in the godly soul is just the opposite. Just the opposite. Same thing, but the other side of the looking glass. And the element of earth. Now here's a tough one. The element of earth in the animal soul means that a person, it will express itself in sadness and laziness. And oh, I just can't get up in the morning. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. What's the element of earth in the godly soul? Ready?
Happiness.
Happiness? Happiness doesn't come from earth.
But that's the opposite of sadness, no? That's the opposite of sadness.
Of sadness?
Yeah. No?
No, but I want to know how does it express itself in your godly soul? The element of earth in your godly soul, happiness will express itself in the godly soul with warmth, fire. Pleasure also leads to happiness.
So
Maybe earth is being like grounded or like a foundation of strength, like
confidence?
like being dedicated, like having commitment or
How would you girls feel if you looked, you turned around and there in the door was the Rebbe himself?
I think I would faint. I would like faint.
stand.
Why would you faint?
Because I would be like, oh my gosh, I met this person. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Wow.
So is that a feeling of pride?
It would be.
That's not pride. What is that? What is that feeling?
It would be a feeling like.
Yeah.
Wow.
And do you feel you're great?
No.
No. What do you feel?
Mental.
That he is great.
Humble. Feel humble. That's the element of earth. It's humility. Humility. That's one of the highest levels of serving God is humility, to look at everybody and see the virtue in them. Oh, they have such wonderful virtues. I could learn so much from everybody else. I could learn so much from them. Not that you're bad, but there you see in them the good, because you have humility. And when you have humility, then you can have love, because you can appreciate what's in the other person. Last summer, there was an occasion. I was walking to shul. I was in a very good mood. And I saw somebody. I like this person. I smiled. He says, why are you always smiling? I said, well, if I see you, why shouldn't I smile? He said, but why do you smile? He says, I said, I don't know. When I see a person that I know, and I see the good qualities that are in them, and it makes me happy. That's humility. Seeing the good in everybody else. That's anivus. Another aspect of anivus, of humility, is that you don't want anybody, it's the opposite of pride. Pride, you want everybody to see how good you are. Humility, you don't want anybody to see you don't want anybody to see. Whatever you do you do it for Hashem's sake. You don't do it for anybody else. What I do, I just do for Hashem. Just between me and him. The braggart, the show off, that's the element of fire in the animal soul. The bragging is the element of air in the animal soul. The pride is the element of fire in the animal soul. Humility is the element of earth in the godly soul. And this was a great quality of the early Hasidim, which was humility that whatever they did was only for the sake of Shemayim. That's what it says in the ethics of the fathers. Let all your deeds be for the sake of the one above. Not for any reward, not for the sake of a reward. Serve Hashem for the sake of serving Hashem. The reward of a mitzvah is that you did the mitzvah. Or on a lower level, the reward of a mitzvah is that Hashem will give you, if you did that one good, Hashem will give you another one. If you have money, you give charity, Hashem sees he has a good messenger, he'll give you more money, do more charity.
So air is talking good about people?
Yes.
Okay.
And praising Hashem and learning Torah and teaching.
Good
Shabbos, everybody.
Good Shabbos.
And the element of air is connected to this week's Parsha because the word Teva means words. So Baal Shem Tov taught that Hashem said to Noach, go into the Teva, that means go into the words of Torah, go into the words of davening. And when the flood waters threaten to drown you, which is the problems of life, of money and health, they're like the waters of the flood. And when you feel that you're going to drown, go into the ark, go into the word. The word Teva means ark, and the word Teva means word. Go into the words of Torah and the words of Tefillah, and they will lift you up above the flood waters, and you will survive.
Wow.
It's such a beautiful teaching.
Wow, this is a beautiful
It was a beautiful ending.
Well, there's now you have a Dvar Torah for your Shabbos table.
Thank you,
Sure.
Rabbi. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, everybody. Thank you all for coming.